Well, good morning, WellHouse Church. Pastor Cullen, excited to be back with you looking at some more stories in the book of Acts. If you don't follow me on Instagram, I'm not that person that pushes my own social media very often. However, I get a lot of feedback from people at and around WellHouse about the type of content that I put on Instagram. Instagram is my place. I'll link it below for anyone that has it. But Instagram is my place as a pastor to have my own kind of creative content outlet. I have it in my bio that all views are my own, and I'm just putting out random thoughts that I have that are just unfiltered. They're just my place to put out content. And a few weeks ago, I put out a piece of content about this story. We're going to be in the book of Acts, chapter 8, specifically looking at a guy named Philip. And this is one of the last stories we get about Philip, because in chapter 9, we meet Saul, who eventually becomes the Apostle Paul. So this is one of the last stories we get of Philip. And it's a story about the ancient world's sexual other. It's a story about a eunuch. I said on Instagram that the Bible makes plenty of space for the quote-unquote others of society. Perhaps it's us that don't make space for them, and then we blame it on the Bible. I still feel that way. I think the Bible makes space for any of the quote-unquote others in society, whoever they are, and makes plenty of space for them in the Christian faith. I don't think it's really that hard to do. This story, there's a famous Ethiopian queen named Candace, and she has this man, a eunuch, who is like her treasurer. He's like the treasury of the court. And it wasn't uncommon in the ancient world for eunuchs to be in a queen's court. They could not rape her. It made perfect sense. Now, people became a eunuch a lot of different ways, so definitely join me for a closer look tomorrow if you want to know how someone became a eunuch in the ancient world. But the fact that they're the ancient world's sexual other is not hard to come up with, specifically by the fact that society has a name to call them, a eunuch. They're considered others in society. This is furthered by the fact that it even says that it's a eunuch. It does not have to say that this man is a eunuch. The Bible text does not have to say that. But it does, because society has labeled this person as an other, which is quite unfortunate. But anyways, the thing that I love about this text is the story goes that an angel of the Lord comes to Philip and says, hey, get up and go over there. You need to go. So he goes and he sees this chariot. And so he runs over to it. And when he appears, he hears the eunuch reading from the scroll of Isaiah. And he asks him one simple question. He says, do you understand what you're reading? Now, you have to understand, this eunuch is surrounded by some of the most supreme wealth in the world. He's the treasurer of the Queen of Ethiopia's court. This is a very intelligent person. This is a very capable person. This is a very wealthy person. And Philip just runs up to him. Like, hey bro, do you understand what you're reading? Because he's reading from the second part of Isaiah about the suffering servant, the one who is to come. And so Philip runs up and says, do you understand what you're reading? Now remember, he's reading from the scroll of Isaiah, a prophecy that happened a long time ago. And he's reading what we now interpret to be a prophecy about Jesus, the suffering servant. I love what the eunuch says. The Ethiopian eunuch replies, the eunuch replies and says, "How can I unless someone guides me?" And he invited Philip to get in and sit beside him. How can I understand unless someone guides me? Notice what the eunuch didn't say. The eunuch did not say, "How will I unless someone teaches me?" The eunuch did not say, "How will I unless someone indoctrinates me?" The eunuch did not say, "Unless someone makes me believe exactly like you want me to." The eunuch says, "How can I unless someone guides me?" The Greek word there for guide is like put me on the path. Like point me in the right direction. The story continues, and Philip begins to share all of the scriptures with him and how he reads them, to the point that the Ethiopian eunuch, they pass by some water and he says, "Look, there's water. Can I be baptized? Or what prevents me from being baptized?" The thing we have to understand is because of Jesus' baptism, the language around the baptism of the Holy Spirit, and water baptism as a cultural thing, everything about this, baptism was a cleansing ritual. It definitely had spiritual impact. But by this point, Christians, and especially by Paul, Christians are baptizing people immediately because that's what they associate the giving of the Holy Spirit with. It's where Jesus gets the Holy Spirit descending upon him like a dove, so they start baptizing. So baptism is the entrance for these faithful Christians. Baptism is the entrance into the community of faith. It's the two reasons that I love this text. This is one of my most favorite texts, and here's why. Philip goes and baptizes him immediately, breaking down any kind of barrier that the others of society are not welcome in our community. Immediately, gone, baptized. The other thing I love about this text, the Ethiopian eunuch is definitely another. He's an Ethiopian, so he's not a Jew, which means he's a Gentile, and he's a eunuch. When Philip brings him up out of the water from baptism, this is what it says. Verse 38. He commanded the chariot to stop, and both of them, Philip and the eunuch, went down into the water. And Philip baptized him. When they came up out of the water, the Spirit of the Lord snatched Philip away. The eunuch saw him no more and went on his way rejoicing. WellHouse Church, I'm not really here to teach you. I'm not really here to tell you how to live your life. I'm here to guide you. This is one of the only times in the entire book of Acts, this is one of the only times in the Bible that I can think of someone being snatched away like this, like teleported to a different place. There are people that ascend. Elijah ascends, Enoch ascends, Jesus ascends. This is not an ascension, though. God literally just takes this person out of the presence of the Ethiopian eunuch and puts them supernaturally in a different place. Why do you think that would happen? And why is that specifically happening in this story? I personally think it's because sometimes the contextualization, what we've been through, the way in which we view the world impacts the way in which we live out our faith. And this person is going to Ethiopia. The eunuch is going back to Ethiopia and taking this message of Jesus with him. But notice, Philip's only job was to be a guide. He wasn't to try to make the Ethiopian eunuch think the way he thought. He wasn't trying to make it perfect to what he was doing. And the Christian faith, the Christian community knows no others in society. The thing I love about this text is no one is off limits and no one has the right answer. Everyone, in the way in which they see themselves in the story of Jesus, as the way they see themselves as beneficiaries of the message of Jesus, is what makes this story beautiful. So, WellHouse Church, I want to ask you, do you have an other in society that you are viewing that is supposed to be outside of the community of faith? Do you have someone that's off limits? Someone that the gospel should not be available to? And if so, why? And lastly, my real question: what path is this taking you on? You know, if Philip didn't choose to teach or indoctrinate the Ethiopian eunuch, if he chose to be a guide for him, then this book can guide you in a number of different ways. This faith can guide you in a number of different ways. I say it all the time. If you want this book to liberate people, it will. If you want this book to oppress people, it will. It all depends on how you read it and what you think the message of Jesus is doing. And so, WellHouse Church, what path are we going down? Are we going down one of liberation and life? Or are we going down one of oppression and death by telling others that they're not welcome in this community?